Hello and welcome to another Throwdown Thursday podcast YouTube episode preview. Today we are previewing episode 101, and you're probably wondering why I'm previewing episode 101 with my shark suit on. First of all, how dare you? Because what I do and how I dress in my own home is none of your concern. But secondly, the reason I'm dressed like a shark in this very moment is because our guests tomorrow, and we have 5 guests. We have Dominic Pace, we have Ego Makitas, we have Elizabeth Cron, we have Paulina Laurent, and we have Carolyn Harris from the Asylum movie Megalodon that will be released later this summer. This is actually the first exclusive interview with the cast. We are the first ones to have any interviews with these folks. We are the first ones to get them all together and have them talk about this film, so this was very, very exciting to me. Now, basically, what this film is going to do, because I know what you're thinking. I'm like, oh, great, another Asylum shark movie. Because when people think of Asylum shark movies, they think Sharknado. They think, these sci-fi cheesy mockbusters, stuff like, Transmorphers or Alien versus Hunter or, some sort of, you know, parody almost of another film that's coming out that they're trying to capitalize on the popularity of. And in some cases, you will see stuff like that. I mean, there was a film coming out in which Paulina Laurent actually stars in called Triassic World, which comes out right before Jurassic World, which obviously is coming out in order to kind of capitalize on the momentum that Jurassic World has. Now, I think where people kind of have the wrong idea of these films is, you have to remember that the films that they are coming out, it's almost like an homage, the way I look at it. They don't have the same budget, whereas, the Jason Statham vehicle that's coming out in August, the Meg, based on the series of books by Steve Alten, where that has a huge budget because it's put out by Warner Brothers, you're looking at, by contrast, Megalodon, which did not have anywhere near the size budget, but, you got to remember, these people are all professionals, the writers, the directors, the actors, the crew. Everybody involved in this film is a professional. People aren't just going to attach their names to something that they believe is an inferior product just to put out an inferior product. I get it. The Sharknado movies have, literally become a parody of themselves, and they put themselves in over-the-top ridiculous situations. That's not what Megalodon is. Megalodon is a film where there is real conflict, where there are real stakes, and the actors involved are good at their job. They know what they're doing. So the first person I reached out to was Dominic Pace. And it just happened to be on a Twitter thread that the Asylum put out, trying to capitalize on, just kind of promoting this film. And I forget if he liked my comment or retweeted it or commented on below. It's at this point it's been like a blur the last week and a half of getting this all put together, and just out of nowhere, because this is what I do. I'm always asking people to be on the show, usually through social media. I know that may not be the best way to do it because I don't have anybody's phone number, so it's harder for me to just, call someone up or like, hey, how long have we been trying to convince Ray Park to come on the show? So Dominic not only replied to me, but replied positively saying, sure, I'd love to come on the show. And, we kind of went back and forth on some of the details. He kind of gave me a little bit of the background of his character. And, through the conversations that he and I had, I kind of was able to formulate some questions that I wanted to ask him when he came on the show. I didn't want to do, the typical, like, what was it like to work on the movie? What was it like to do this? I pride myself on asking um, interesting and thought-provoking questions, and hopefully I was able to do that. So we were out to dinner, Ashes and I and Agent Nicole and a couple of our friends. We went out, and I get a message from Dominic, and he said, everything's all set on my end. We're really excited to come on the show. And I said, we? I'm like, well, what do you mean we? And he's like, well, I invited a bunch of the cast members. So the folks who ended up joining us, because not everybody was available. It's understandable. It's a Tuesday night. Not everyone is free to join us. So in addition to Dominic Pace, who plays Captain Streeper, there was Ego Makitas, who plays Captain Ivanov, who is essentially the Russian counterpart, the Russian yin to uh, Dominic Pace's American yang. Take that as you will. It's not weird. I'm just trying to put it in, to show that they are equal but opposing forces. He also invited Elizabeth Cron, who plays Munoz, who is an engineer. Paulina Laurent, who plays Cheng, who is also an engineer. And like I said, Paulina Laurent will also be in an upcoming mockbuster, Triassic World, which comes out right around the same time as Jurassic World. I believe it's the same week. As well as Carolyn Harris, who plays Commander Lynch, who is pretty much Dominic Pace's Captain Streeper's right-hand woman. Like, she is his technical advisor. She's basically the stabilizing force, from what I understand. I may have gotten that completely wrong, but from what I understand, she is the stabilizing force in his character's arc. So we were very excited to have all of them on. We got to ask them a bunch of different questions. Unfortunately, we did not have Agent Nicole for this episode. She got called away on an urgent mission to S.H.I.E.L.D. She had to get her intergalactic passport so she could safely travel to and from the Kree Empire. So she unfortunately was not able to join us for this episode. We learned a lot from these folks about not only their process, but their efforts and their commitment to really showing people that Asylum is not this one-dimensional, machine just churning out mockbusters that people can sit around and just enjoy without really having to pay attention to the plot. Like, I think with this film, you're really going to see, and appreciate the fact that these people are all professionals. The writers, the directors, the actors, everyone involved in this, they're professional. There's a part where Ego was talking about how, they were on such a tight shooting schedule, and they were really trying to get things done, but, they're filming on an active ship. Like, it's not like a boat or a set or a green screen. They're filming on a ship in the ocean. And there was such an attention to detail to make sure that there was no land behind them. There was no, no boats in the background. You have to make sure you get the shot just right, and the sun's coming down. But, you have to make sure that not only do you get the shot, but it's also safe for everyone involved. Because if you're doing an action film, this is the attention to detail that when you're doing something like a Sharknado and, you're showing Ian Ziering leaping through the air with a giant chainsaw. This thing's starting to, yeah. Ugh. Sorry, I got the teeth in my eyes. Kind of look like Darth Vader at the end. But when you're showing somebody leaping through the air, obviously that's done, with CGI or, with some other type of effect, and there's no real danger to the crew. But when you're shooting on a live, a real life boat, you're shooting on a oh, looks like my co-host is here. You're shooting on, sorry, this is Bobby. you're shooting on a boat and you're trying to get action scenes done. I mean, there's a danger. I mean, you fall off of a boat, you're gonna land 40, 50 feet, hit the water. That's like hitting cement. So people can get hurt. So I understand the fact that they've got this really tight shooting schedule, but at the same time, you want to make sure everything's done correctly. And I don't think people appreciate that enough about these films because they're so overwhelmed by the sheer wackiness of what's going on in the plot. So I think folks are really going to enjoy this interview. I know normally we just talk about a specific character, but in this case, getting to talk to folks who play actual characters, in a film that we've yet to see, um, I don't think it really is going to influence how we look at the film, but at the same time, it kind of gives us, a little bit of background, like a sneak behind the curtain. Um, I think it's going to be really good. I think people are really going to enjoy it. I had a lot of fun. I mean, I was beaming ear to ear the whole time. Like I just had this huge smile on my face because I had such a good time. I started off, I was very, very nervous, but these folks were so cool. They were really relaxed. They were easygoing. Um, and they really put me at ease. So I want to thank them again, personally. Dominic, Ego, Carolyn, Elizabeth, and Paulina, thank you so much again. I know I've said it about 100 times, and you're probably tired of hearing me say it, but thank you again for coming on the show, and you're welcome back anytime. Obviously, hopefully we can get the gang back together again shortly before the premiere. I would love to be able to do that. That would be great. But any projects you guys have coming up, I would love to help promote. Like I said, I know we're just a small time podcast. We don't have the reach, say, of a Kevin Smith show or anything like that. But we love to promote people's work. We do. That's part of what we got into this for, because we're passionate about things, and we know other people are passionate about their work. And like I said, I really think this is gonna kind of change people's perceptions of Asylum films, and I hope it does, because I want people to understand uh, that these films, there's a lot of work that goes into them, and they don't have the luxury of doing 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 20 takes because they have just money to burn. Um, you know, the level of professionalism and perfection that goes into these types of films. The cast talks about this. You know, you have shots where you have to get it right. You have a few days to memorize your script and to get all your lines, and you have to get your fight choreography, and you have to get your reactions to certain things. Like, there are things happening. You have to react to sounds that aren't really there. You have to react to objects that aren't really there. You have to react to all these different things that you know are either added in post production, or you're facing a mock up of it. Like Dominic says, talking about reacting to a tennis ball, because it's like, okay, this is where you have to look because this is what's going on, and this is going to be added in post production. But not having the luxury of being able to take multiple shots, or do multiple takes. Um, I think people will really appreciate the level of professionalism that these actors bring. And these are all professional actors. These are not just some people that they took up off the street. These are people that have been doing comedy or dance, or some type of entertainment where you're up on in front of a stage and you're in front of an audience and you have to perform, and you have to perform well. um, I don't think people really appreciate that, because on the one hand you have to be perfect, but you have to be perfect very quickly. This isn't like a Stanley Kubrick where he's going to do the same shot 170 times because he didn't think that looked quite right. It's like, I want the shot to look perfect, but you're going to do it in one take. So I think that's really more of a challenge, and I think this is really going to flip people's perceptions on their head. So Thank you very much for watching this video. I know I rambled on a little bit, but I got really passionate about this, and this is something that um, really means a lot to me because these folks took the time. So I really want to, express my gratitude in kind of an angry nerd rant way, but I think that's about it. I really hope you enjoy the episode. If you have any questions, please, leave a comment below. Um, like and subscribe if you haven't. Ring the bell, and we will see you next Thursday.